Fit for Life Radio, episode number 43. I'm your host, Gary Deagle, coming in with my co-host.
Hello.
That'd be Will Shively.
What up?
And today we're gonna just answer some questions today. Keep it real chill. We're not gonna be yelling at you guys on some topic that we're ranting on.
Did you say chill or trill? Or did you say both?
Oh, I said trill. I'm from Newport News, man. I'm not from
Denby High School.
I'm not from Virginia Beach like you. I'm not surfer chic.
Oh no.
I'm D Block.
Mm-hmm. I wish we could post a picture of you and the puka shell necklace when that sentence comes up. That would make my day.
Bringing it back.
Oh no.
So, yeah, you want to dive into these questions we got here?
Let's dig in. Yeah, we got a little Q&A for you guys.
So, we like these questions we got through Instagram. They're basic and stuff you've probably heard, but what we've realized, and most of you listeners will probably agree with, is we don't need 1,000 new things.
Nah.
Or to hear a bunch of different stuff. We really just need reminding on the same stuff over and over, and we're reminded by that by seeing some of the same questions over and over, and that, hey, like a lot of stuff that maybe we assume people know, they don't, or they're just wanting more confidence on it. Maybe they kind of know, but there's a million different things that sidetrack them, and they just want a little bit of redirection and reminder.
And sometimes you just have to hear the same thing over and over for you to finally go like, okay, maybe I need to address this. Maybe it is a problem. I need to do something with it. So, yeah, we're going to hammer it home.
So the first one is from my dude, Brian Griffith. I knew him back in the day. At when I was there, it was Gold's Gym. And now he lives out in San Diego, running that hotel game. So shout out to Brian. And his question is, healthy carbs, what are they? How much, etc.? Why is everyone so afraid of them? One of my favorite topics, because
everybody is afraid of carbs, though.
Everyone is. The question we get on the daily, in the gym, online, at the grocery store,
in our dreams
is, what about keto? What's keto? And people's initial reaction, essentially what people think of keto is, what's no carbs? Because carbs are bad.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
So that must be good.
So it's nice to have someone just ask about carbs directly, Yeah. It's like when you have that crazy uncle and he doesn't, everyone's wondering if he's coming to Thanksgiving. So, but if no one's going to be like, hey, where's crazy Uncle Tom? They might just ask, Aunt Sue, hey, Aunt Sue, you coming along? It's like people, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey,
a little bit.
What about the keto diet? They don't want to be mean. They're not going to just be like, hey, you bring in those crazy carbs. I think that's what people are really asking, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with carbs.
No, there's nothing about a carb that just makes you gain weight.
Yeah, and when we say everyone's afraid of them, the reason is because most people associate carbs. They think of donuts
and cake
and
cookies. And
I gotta lay off the carbs. But guess what? None of those foods are just carbs.
Nah.
They're. Let's look at it. Let's look at each one. Let's break it down. A cake, flour, that's carb. Butter, that's a fat.
Sugar,
that's a carb.
And then whatever else.
Baked with oil. So it's what it is. It's a calorie bomb that's refined and easy to overeat, right? So if you have a slice of cake and you keep your overall food intake in check, like there's nothing wrong with that either. Now, again, but it's easy to eat a cake and want another piece.
Oh yeah, second slice.
So all of a sudden, and remember, it's carbs and fat, so it's just high in calories. Calorie bomb. Yep. Donut, flour fried in oil, carbs and fat. Right. So really pastries in general, same. They're all like that. No one's talking about how many people. So a carbohydrate by itself would be potato.
Or white rice, just straight starch.
Yeah, or any rice. That's just carbs. But how many people do you know that just eat carbs without, how do most people eat a baked potato? Sour cream and butter. Right? So now it's carbs and fat. Right? So again, not that carbs are bad, not that fats are bad, but it becomes a calorie bomb. So it just becomes hard, and it becomes more delicious, let's be honest.
Yep.
Which then makes it easier to eat more of. So in theory, people are afraid of, calorie bombs, right? But if you're keeping your calories in check, you can almost have as many carbs as you want. That's where it comes down to trade-offs, right? Like saying yes to one thing is going to mean saying no to another. So typically if you have a higher carb diet, you're going to have a lower fat diet, right? Because they're both calories and you only need a certain amount, right? So it's about what can you fit into the amount you need. And if you like carbs, like you can easily fit some carbs in there. And a lot, actually, because carbs are, we've talked about before, high-volume food, right? So we'll break down Brian's initial question, healthy carbs. What are they, right? So healthy is a little bit of a, anything can be healthy if it's in the context of eating the right amount of food.
Kind of a misleading word, I feel, because then people think like a food is either healthy or unhealthy. Like you get one or the other. It's a 1 or a 0, a check or an X. Where like you just said, as long as it fits in and you're in a calorie deficit, if your goal is to lose weight, then you're fine. Like that's healthy in the context of what you're trying to accomplish. It's not like, one food is going to just, destroy your body and one food is going to turn you into like a lean, mean machine. It's the context of how much you're eating overall, really.
So I really like to break it down. I mean, because, again, so we've established that the word healthy is more a sliding scale, not a yes or no or on or off, right? So I like to think of foods more with the stoplight approach. So you have your green light, your yellow light, your red light, right? So a healthy carb for an individual is going to vary per person, right? So now there's going to be commonalities. For example, so we'll say a healthy carb is a carb that you can eat, enjoy, but you don't necessarily like binge on it. Like it's not gonna like lead you to, I could have more and more, right? So for some people, like a rice and potato for me, and even less so potatoes more. Like rice I can kind of fill up on and keep eating a lot more. Whereas a potato, like I'll eat a certain amount, like a plain russet potato. And
I hit a wall.
Yeah, I hit a wall. So, so for me those would be like green light foods, right? Whereas if I have, some kind of like carb candy type food, right? Or for example, for me, like if I had like popcorn that was dusted in like caramel, some kind of caramel stuff, so sugary, refined type carb, then I could just sit there and munch, and it's between the sweet and the salt and the, easy to eat, I could just whack back a whole bin, right? So that would be popcorn. More of a yellow or red light food, right?
Yep.
So now, if I just portioned it out, it was like, I know I'm going to have half a cup. This fits my calories, then it's perfectly fine. But then if you then have the rest of the bin and you go get it and you keep eating, then it's verging on not so healthy, right? Not because it's a carb, but because now we end up eating too many calories, right? So that's how you can kind of decide, like, what are the foods that satisfy you but don't lead to overeating, right? And then, so for how much... Yeah, it depends on the person, right? A bigger guy is going to be able to eat more calories to maintain his weight or to, lose weight. So he's going to be able to eat more, And if you eat more fats, if you're eating a bunch of bacon and avocados, you're going to have less carbs, right? So, it depends on the setup of the rest of your diet. But yeah, so that's kind of carbs in a nutshell.
Carbs in a nutshell, yeah. It depends is a lot of the answer. With a lot of things in fitness and nutrition.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
No one likes it, but...
Nobody likes it, but it's just the way it is. It's not like a one-size-fits-all for every human being.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we have a client who's... They have an Asian background, so obviously rice is a big part of their cuisine, something they love, and they were avoiding eating it because they thought it was quote-unquote bad. And then when we told them, you can have rice, they were so excited, and then they learned how to fit it in, and they lost weight and got jacked and got shredded while eating rice. And here's the key. So it was enjoyable, and thus is going to be sustainable for them.
Yeah, it's something that they grew up with and is part of family gatherings and things like that. So, not being able to include that blows, especially when it's something that is probably a green light.
And that's what's important, and... Again, this other study just came out I saw yesterday, actually, again, confirming what's already been known, but just the importance of body weight when it comes to, this was specifically related to cardiovascular disease. Like being overweight is directly correlated and causes cardiovascular disease, right? So, which is the number one, either one or two top killers.
Yep.
In America at least. So, we can't emphasize that enough. Specific foods aren't necessarily what make you healthy or not healthy. It's being a healthy body weight is going to have the biggest factor. It's going to,
which just comes down to eating the
right amount of food.
There's no magic food that makes you gain or lose. Superfoods are stupid.
You could eat kale on top of a 4,000 calorie diet, and you're not going to be getting much of that kale. So,
not at all.
Some vitamins, but if you're eating 4,000 calories, you're probably already getting plenty. So, again, focus on a nutrition approach that gets you to a healthy weight and is enjoyable and sustainable. And that can include carbs. And any carbs you include that fit into that would be considered healthy, in my opinion. So, the next question is super broad, common question, just straight up from Lambley. Fat loss.
Question mark.
Wondering about fat loss, right? And honestly, so again, we touched on this in the last one. It's simple, but it's complicated, right? And I'll refer, I have a bunch of little infographics on our Instagram pages and stuff, but it's as simple as, here, I'm actually going to pull up, I have this in the notes section on my phone, because it's so basic and simple, and just a reminder, so when we're always coaching people, I have fat loss checklist. 1, get in a calorie deficit.
Boom.
2, eat 100 grams of protein. You can have more, but that's just simple baseline. 3, strength train 2 to 4 times a week. And we can stop there, but I have 4, walk daily, right? So really fat loss comes down to getting in a calorie deficit, and then you want to eat sufficient protein and strength train to maintain muscle. That's the goal really with that. Yep. So that we're giving our body, we're signaling to our body a reason to keep our muscle, so that then through the calorie deficit, we know the weight we're losing is body fat, right? And then walking daily is just for health, for heart health, and being outside and stress relief and movement. But essentially it comes down to getting a calorie deficit, right? Now, here's the thing. Yes, I know that's simple. That's the science of it. That's what it takes. But I know and I get that doesn't necessarily help anyone, right? Like just telling you get in a calorie deficit. Well, what does that mean, right? So it means for most people, eating less.
Yeah.
So it means you need to bring awareness to your nutrition, find mindless snacking and calories, work on cutting them out. But for some people, you could have no structure or anything. So that could mean you need to start grocery shopping. You need to start writing a grocery list. You maybe need to learn some cooking techniques, right? So that's where all this is complicated. And then maybe you're aware of a bunch of mindless snacking at night maybe, but you have to unpack maybe emotions that go into that, and there's a lot that gets in the way before you can just stop doing that. And then you have to replace it with something else, And all that's super complicated and super hard, but people want to make fat loss more complicated and think that there's some fancy foods or fancy workouts or combination of things. It's none of that. It's just get in a calorie deficit.
Yeah, and make it as simple as humanly possible, because like Gary said, there's more to it than seems on the surface. So the easier you can make it, the less barriers you have, the better. So if that means doing a super basic workout and eating pretty basic in the way of foods, things like that, just to make it easy. What can I do to make this less complicated, the better? Because complicated will never be the thing that wins out. It just makes it harder to stay consistent with anything. So just simplify, and you'll still get results.
Yeah. And here's the thing. A big thing with fat loss is, of course, we want to lose fat, especially if we have some extra weight or we've gained weight over the years. But really the real question isn't how do you lose fat? Because most people know it's going to involve, you have to change your nutrition, eat less, typically. So the real question to ask is, am I ready, willing, and able to change? Because it's going to take change, right? So, And it's just really, truly addressing that and then being, feeling confident that you are ready to change and you're going to put in the effort, you know?
You have to be okay with changing. You can't, if you want to stay the same and you're afraid to kind of let go, then you're just not going to make change and you're not ready. You're not ready yet. So you got to be okay with maybe becoming a slightly different person than you are in the moment. And that's change.
So to recap, fat loss, ? The answer is calorie deficit, but then unpacking that, getting into a calorie deficit means changing our habits, changing our thoughts, changing our mindset, changing the way we shop, the way we cook, the way we eat, the way we think,
the way we socialize, all of it.
That's a big part. So, it's not an easy endeavor. It's going to be hard. It's going to be lifelong. It's going to be ups and downs. And that's fat loss.
Yeah. You know what?
Don't let some ebook or magazine or radio ad tell you it's as simple as do X, Y, Z diet, follow this meal plan, right? And lose weight. But that's not addressing a lot of other things, right?
Yep.
Which is why a lot of people have no problem losing fat. They have problem keeping it off.
Yep.
So
that goes really well into our
next one.
Third question
is from my man Justin out in Ireland, doing his thing. Justin, what's up?
Doing it.
His question was forming sustainable habits. That was what he was interested in. And this is a great one. Because this is how you keep the weight off.
Hole.
And short answer, the best way to form sustainable habits is to start small. Start easy, which no one wants to do because they think they're more advanced than they are.
Yeah, and it's too easy and it's not as exciting as trying something super difficult and complicated. And
yep. Like, for example, someone could be like, what do you think of the keto diet? I've put together a strategic cycling keto, ketone measuring diet where I prick my finger 6 times a day to see if I'm in ketosis and cut out these foods and this meal plan and that meal plan. But then the funny thing is they'll do all that and you could be like, why don't you just eat slower?
Yeah.
Why don't you focus on how you eat instead of what you eat? And people are like, oh, nah, that's too simple. But at the same time, the same person they drink a coffee drink and stuff a muffin down their throat, down their gullet while they're driving to work, and then they'll snack on the jar of nuts and candy while they're at the computer. Then they'll grab their phone and scroll through Instagram while they're mindlessly eating lunch. And then they'll get home and watch TV and snack. So all of a sudden something as simple as like, well, can you just eat at a table without distractions? Because if you did, you would probably notice when you're full.
Yep.
You would notice everything you're eating and realize, well, I don't even really want that. It's just because it's an arm's reach away. All of a sudden, you're eating less because you're more aware, right? So then that one super small habit of...
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/ Proven Grit. That's drinkag1.com/proven grit. Check it out.
Eating slower takes you to what you wanted to do in the first place. All of a sudden, you're losing weight.
Yeah, without all of the layers of finding what foods to eat and doing the ketone strips and all. Not to knock on keto, but
it's just an example.
For
the sake of sustainable habits.
Yeah.
Because that is the knock on keto. It's hard to sustain, right?
Exactly.
So if it does get you where you want to be and you can't keep it up, you got to work on it, right? So maybe starting smaller, in the beginning, is the way to go.
Yeah,
right?
And don't be afraid to start small. A week you do the mindless, or you do the, don't be distracted while you eat and slow down. Great,
Yep.
You do it for a whole week. All right, well, I'm fine with that. Let's do, a week or two later, I'll do something else.
Yeah.
And then, before you know it, you're way ahead of the game because you just been slowly moving up and being okay with moving slow versus wanting to jump to step 20 when you're really on step 1 and you won't address step 1.
Yeah. That's why we like tracking, right? Food. And that it gets bad, but really we don't care. We don't want people to track every individual macro or anything. We just like track. I mean, you can write it down on a piece of paper. No one wants to do that. That's why an app like MyFitnessPal is good. But the whole point of tracking is you're just simply, literally bringing awareness to what you're eating.
Yeah.
It's better not even to change your diet. Just track what you currently eat, just so you know. You'll start making better decisions from that, right? That's why tracking's a great small first step habit. You're literally just recording what you eat. You're not starting a new meal plan. You're not doing all this other million things. It's just tracking. So, for obviously this is a nutrition example as opposed to creating sustainable habits. So, but that's a good start small, right? An example with exercise. What do most people do when they start working out? Oh, okay, I'm going to start in March because some birthdays are over and I know I'm going to have a 8-week stretch where I don't have any family outings and this and that. So I'm going to start working out. And I'm going to do I got P90X. It's 7 days a week, an hour a day. And then I signed up at this gym. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to do 2-a-days, 7 days a week, and 15 minutes of yoga and meditation every morning. Okay, then what happens about 4 days in? Boom, crash and burn. You miss a day. Oh, I'm a failure, right? So again, you're trying to make an active lifestyle a sustainable habit. That's not the approach to take, right? So it's start small. Say I'm going to go 2 days a week, right? An hour each day. That's 2 hours a week. Then all of a sudden you make it 2 days. You start the snowball effect. You feel good. You feel confident. Whereas if you would have said I'm going to go 6 days a week, and you only made it 2, you would have been like, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Right? Now all of a sudden, you're getting...
And that's negative feedback.
By setting your bar lower, starting small, now all of a sudden you're getting better self-talk. Now, I made it 2. Good job. Now that it's positive. Now it's fun. Now it's exciting. Now you feel good about it. So you got to start small. And the funny thing is, we talk about this all the time. We do some online remote coaching as well. And so it's people who, want to lose weight. And we have this workout program through Pro Coach, and it's a great workout program, right? But it's the basics. It's just 3 days a week, basic lifting stuff. Nowadays, everyone thinks they have to kill themselves. That they have to be wadding out in a pool of vomit and sweat at the end of every workout. So we'll get people who are overweight, struggling, never made this stuff a habit, and they're like, well, these workouts are too easy. And it's like, whoa, let's. We want to be able to work out for a lifetime, right? Not just not as hard as we can in 1 month. And we want to learn proper movement and how to focus. So people just want to go from 0 to 60, and they again want to skip the start small. But the start small is how you make it all work and how you create sustainable habits, like Justin's asking about.
That lasting change doesn't happen when you just jump into the water without checking the depth.
Yep. You can, again, relate this to anything. Finance, right? You're struggling with your finances, you're in debt. We'll just start saving, $100 a month, or pay $100 or $10 towards a bill that you owe, and then go from there. You're not
whereas feeling like you got to pay all of this at once and get out of debt in 1 month, just chip away at it. Like anything, just chip.
And the next thing you know, you're in the habit of saving. Then you're able to eventually save more. So then you're in the habit of saving more.
Yep. And spending less, consequentially, from trying to save more.
So really with anything, and there's a great book called Atomic Habits, that breaks a lot of this down about creating sustainable habits. So I'd recommend that book. And a big part of that book they talk about is kind of your identity. Eventually, creating sustainable habits means changing habits that you currently have, and that involves who do you truly identify yourself as, right? Like if you want to be the person who goes to the gym consistently and makes good nutrition choices, you have to eventually identify as that person and be like, I'm just adopting the habits to be that person and see yourself as that person. But you have to do that. You have to mentally believe and identify as that person. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, you're slowly changing yourself into somebody else. I mean, it's still you, but a different version of you, and that doesn't happen unless you're willing to commit and to maybe leave something behind. Leave the late night snacking behind, or going out to the bar every night during the week behind. Things like that. Maybe you can't be that person anymore, and it's okay. It's cool.
Yep. And a big part of it's also knowing you don't have to do the most advanced version, me personally, I've been doing this 13 years, gym owner, coach people, but I don't care to be at some elite level of fitness, right? I like to have a baseline, and I'm confident I can do that, and it gets me enough, right? So 3 days a week in the gym, I eat 3 square meals a day. I don't go any further than that, Yeah. And it's being at some point accepting that, I don't have to, compete in a sport or be in the Olympics or anything. And so, I think a lot of times people get sidetracked by what they see other people doing in the extremes. And it's important to, look at your life and be like, maybe, you work 40 hours a week and you have 3 kids and you're married and, you still have relationships you want to take care of, and you're not going to be able to train 7 days a week for two-a-days, right? So and that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's funny when, to go on a side note, when you tell people, or I, tell people that you train or we train 3 days a week and all we do is walk and just eat well, they're like, but what else? What else do you do? No, that's literally it. Just work out 3 days a week, and it would be the most boring thing you've ever seen if you watched it for an hour, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. But at the same time, the funny thing is, though, the sacrifices we do make, then when people hear them, they don't want to do it. Yep. So I do like to stay really lean. So for me, a common sacrifice with that is less food variety, eating the same things every day, which I do. So then when someone's like, I want to be 9% body fat, have abs, I'm well, you should eat the same thing every day. Well, I can't do that.
I gotta have variety.
So it's again, at the same time, you're going to have a tough time, right? So it's identifying, what type of person you want to be, what trade-offs do you need to make, and then, habits going towards that. So, and again, looking back, I have a blog on my website, GaryDeagle.com. It's one of my most popular ones, How to Get Ripped to Eating Chicken Nuggets. And we talked about this in a recent podcast as well. And that's how, I started 13 years ago, and that was my first step, right? That was I need more, I was reading all the magazines, and they would always talk about more protein. So I started eating chicken nuggets more because protein, right? But obviously that's not the best choice. But again, that's us, starting small.
It's a step.
It's just more protein, and then you slowly build. I didn't start out eating the same food and super lean ground beef and the meals I eat now. I didn't start out like that. It slowly, even 3 years ago, I was normally, a certain weight and body fat and wanted to be leaner, and I had to change some habits and daily stuff. And then you find, I actually maybe enjoy this. I like the discipline of this, and it's easier, and you make those little changes slowly over years, over decades, and sometimes your goals change. So again, circle it back to just start small, and that's the way you build sustainable habits.
And be okay with it being slow. Like you said, change happens over years and decades, not 1 month. So don't expect to have to change everything about yourself in 1 month, because it's just not going to be sustainable and it's not going to stick quite just slowly stacking up these little tiny victories would.
Yep. So hopefully that's helpful, guys.
I think it is.
Those are three great questions that kind of all tie in together. Forming sustainable habits.
Actually did tie together really well today.
Yeah. The forming sustainable habits, fat loss, and carbs. So, if you found that useful, give us a little review up on iTunes.
Yeah. And if you have any more questions, let us know. Bring them in.
Let them rip.
Let them ride.
All right. We are going to bow out for now. Come back at you.
We'll catch you next time.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Later. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.